So this is chapter 7, the chapter projects. This is the first project, which is a employee tracking app. We have Lucky here driving, and we have Happy as a navigator.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna start by opening. Yeah, let me just open it from here. Okay, this is our code for the employee tracking app. So the instructions were, so in chapter 7 we are working with classes, and the instructions for the employee tracking app is to use first names, last name, is to create a class to track the employees of a company. Instruction number 1 is to use first names, last names, and the number of years worked as values in the constructor. As you can see in my code, we create this class called
Okay.
employee. We create a constructor with all these values here: first name, last name, and then this one I call it experience, just to keep it short.
Okay.
And then we associate all of these with the values, as you can see. And then instruction number 2 was to create 2 or more people with values for their first names, last names, and the number of years they've worked at the company. And then we add the people into an array. As you can see here, we created these 3 variables here for these people, and they are all in the employee class. So the first one is Sophie, the second one is Lungil, and the third one is Sean. And then
Okay.
we create an array called employees, and then we put them all into the array. So that's instruction number 2.
Okay. Okay.
And then
Makes sense.
yeah. And then for number 3, we have to set up a prototype to return the details of the person's first and last names and how long they've worked at the company. So this is a simple one. As you can see here, we use prototype to create this prototype here, which is a function that returns their first name, last name, and the years at the company, which is experience when it comes to how we constructed it.
Okay.
And then now number 4 is we have to iterate the contents of the array to output the results into the console, adding some text to make the output a full sentence. So as you can see here, we used a for loop to traverse the whole array, and then for each employee we use the detail prototype function here to log on to the console their details. And then when I open on my browser, as you can see here, we have it's not really a sentence, but it's sort of a sentence, and we just organized
Okay.
it. Yeah, so this is employee 1, employee 2, and employee 3 here.
Okay. So the prototype, I don't know if I should call it. Is it a function or
It's
just
I think it's a method. It's like a method creator. It allows you to create a method.
so it only just return the first name
Yeah,
and yeah.
in this example it does that, but it can do anything. It's just a function. It can be any function, but then it's gonna, remember, it's gonna apply to whatever class you gave it. So it's like adding a method outside of the class. So let's say you created a class, and then let's say you added 4 methods, and then later on when you're coding, you're like, oh, I need a 5th method. So instead of going back to this and deleting things and adjusting, you can
Yeah.
just use this and
Okay.
it will apply.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's all for the first chapter project. Is everything okay?
Yeah. So far.
Okay. So now we're moving on to the second project, which is the menu items price calculator. So as part of this project, we were supposed to create a class which will allow us to work out the combined price of a number of items and interact with it to work out the total cost of different orders. So the first instruction we have is to create a class that contains the prices of 2 menu items as private field declarations. So as you can see here, we create this class called menu, and then to make it a private item, to make it a private field, we use the hash symbol, and we created the first private field, which is price 1, and it has the value of 20. And then we have the second private field, which is price 2, which has a value of 50.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm moving on to number 2 now, and number 2 wants us to use the constructor in the class to get the argument values, which is how many of each item are being bought. So we have a constructor here, and then we have this parameter here representing the order, how many items are being bought, and we have item 2 also representing an order, how many orders are being bought. And then I was curious when I was working this, in constructors can we put a default value? Because I know in functions.
I actually wanted to ask the teacher that.
Oh yeah, let's find out if it's gonna work. Like I'm gonna
I actually wanted to know that date.
So we're gonna have to change it from here and make it not like, let's not give it anything, and see if it's supposed to be 20 and 50 for all of them. Let's see if it works. It says 7. Oh, it's adding them up, so it does work. We can have
okay.
We can have
Default values.
Yeah, which would make more sense here if you ask me, because you have to at least order one thing. Yeah. Okay, so that is number 2. We use the constructor in the class to get the argument values of how many of each item are being bought, and we just right now decided that we're gonna have this default of 1, and then as you can see, we assign each value to the constructor here. And then number 3, we're supposed to create a method to calculate and return the total cost depending on how many of each item the user selects. So I'm just gonna make my screen big for this one. So as you can see, we have this method here, calculate, and then it returns the item that you get. So remember, this represents the number of orders, so the number of orders multiplied by the price, and then it adds up the number of orders for the second item multiplied by the price for the second item, and then this together will give you the total amount, right? Yeah, so that was number 3. And then number 4, we are supposed to use a getter property to grab the value output by the calculation method. So we use this get keyword here to create a new method, and in this method we just return whatever results when we run the calculate method on our object.
Okay.
Yes, and then excuse me, number 5, we are supposed to create 2 or 3 objects with different combinations of menu selections and output the total cost in the console. So we created the first object here, second object, third object. I think actually it'd be nicer to call it order than object, so that there's a bit more context into what this variable represents. Yes, so we created 3 objects here which are orders, and then the first one, okay, as it is right now, it's because of the default values we used when defining our constructors, it's 1, but we can change it. So for example, Happy, do you have just give us an example to put here, how many items, how many orders of item 1?
How many orders?
Yeah, just
maybe
number.
Let's just say 3.
Okay, 3, and then item
3
2.
for item 1. For item 2, Mexico.
4.
4.
Okay, that's 4, and then for the second order for item 1,
it's 6 and 4.
Okay, we have 6 and 4, and then the last one.
1.
1.
2 1.
2 1, and because the 1 is the default.
2 2.
2 2.
Yeah.
And then, as you can see here, we are outputting the results of running total onto the console, and here is our result. So for the first order, the total is 260,
Yeah.
The second order, the total is 320, and the third order, the total is 90. And just by using quick maths, we can see that 3 and 4, that's 7 items. So that's a big
Mm.
of a lot of items. So the number is gonna be big also. This is 10 items, so it's probably gonna cost more, and it does. And then this is only 3 items, cost less, and it's much less. So just going off of that alone, I can say our thing is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, here, the what's this called? Private private declarations. So in order to reveal them, you use the get function.
Yeah, we use the get.
So if
So
you don't use it, what's gonna happen?
you can't output it to the console. It stays hidden. So here,
What's gonna be the results though?
okay, let's do this just to test it out. So we can't call total anymore because it doesn't exist. We'll have to call calculate method. Let's see what happens. Because remember, as part of the calculate method, we need to know what this private value is. But because we didn't use get, we can't get it. So, oh, it's actually, oh,
Did
I think because we're
did you
calculating,
save it?
huh?
Or it auto saves or
Yeah, I did save it.
did you save it?
Yeah, I think what's gonna happen is that you can't get the value itself. I think as part of the calculation it's there, but then you can't get it. Like if we try
Uh,
to say this,
okay,
for
okay, get it,
example,
yeah.
price one,
Now
you see it
you
doesn't
won't
want to show us
get it
private field.
because you know it. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't want to show us because it's private. But then we can use it in calculations, whatever. It's just we don't want people to see it. But then I think now if we uncomment this and then try to use a price one, I think we're gonna have a different result if I'm not mistaken. Okay, it must be declared. Let's just
Private field must be.
let's just look at the textbook.
What's the message there?
It says private field price one must be declared in an enclosing class. So that's 25. So when we're calling it here, it's not yeah, you see it's not accessible.
Okay, since private.
Yeah, I think the only way for us to access it is through total and calculate, but itself is not accessible. Oh, I spelled that wrong. But otherwise, the project though it's working okay.
Yeah, it's looking okay. I saw that.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll just have to look deeper into what's this private fields and maybe ask Jada more questions about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in summary, in this chapter, we were introduced to the concept of object-oriented programming, which means that we structure our code in such a way that objects are the central players of the logic, and we use classes for this. These are the blueprints for the object, and we are able to make templates for objects and create instances easily by using the new keyword as we did here. So we also saw that classes can inherit from each other by using the extends keyword. We didn't use this in our project, but we did use it in the exercises that we did. We did extend a few things. Yeah, we did extend a few things here, and yeah, we we can extend things from another class, and we'll have to call the constructor of this class with super, and we'll then automatically have access to all the properties of the parent and all the properties and methods of the parent. So this is great for you reusing and maintaining code. And lastly, we did prototypes, which we did in this project. And the prototypes, as we explained earlier, are built-in JavaScript concepts. That is a built-in JavaScript concept that makes classes possible. By adding properties and methods to a class using prototype, we are able to modify the blueprint of that class. And yeah, that was classes. This was Lucky with the happy. Thank you.
Thanks.